gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment. It's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to rise up. It's time to end.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. But before we get anything started, I got Slime Survivor, Rollo, and we'll be right back right after this.
Twist y'all niggas up. Yeah. I can't let them shit on me. I go and grind myself to sleep. If I don't hustle, I don't eat. Gas tank be on E. I ain't trying to take it from you. I want what belong to me. I told my dog this shit ain't free.
This shit ain't free now.
He looked at me like I owe him something, broke my heart. If I gotta pay to be your friend, then we gon' grow apart. If I go to sleep, ain't on my men. Don't wake me up, Lord. Don't wake me up,
Lord.
Yeah. Thank God he woke me up this morning. I got a chance to shit on every nigga that shitted on me. I got a chance to wake up broke and go and get some money. You can't play me out of nothing, stupid bitch, you funny. I don't need no fast money, I need that hit of last money. I can't let them tell on me and go out like no crash dummy. All these niggas gangster, till they get that time and go out bad. No, he won't send you a bag, he rather buy your bitch a bag, your mans. I can't let them shit on me, can't get them boys a chance. I know he stabbed me in my back, I still shook his hand. Showed him on the bigger man. This shit don't get bigger, man. Just because I ask for peace don't mean that I won't kill a man. Yeah, bitch. I've been counting this money for so long it hurt my arm. Niggas always think this shit a game until we show 'em. Every nigga said that they had came and never come. Every bitch that left that buffer dead became a bum. Let's talk money. Where your money at? Tell them bitches if they leave it ain't no coming back. I know them bitches can't believe I got my money back. Bitch, I'm up. People say they cut me off, I do not give a fuck. I done gave a lot of things but never gave a fuck. They ain't talking about a thing if they ain't talking about us. I don't ask for much, just don't fuck about with trust. I can't let them shit on me, I go and grind myself to sleep. If I don't hustle, I don't eat. Gas tank be on E. I ain't trying to take it from you. I want what belong to me. I told my dog this shit ain't free.
This shit ain't free now.
He looked at me like I owe him something, broke my heart. If I gotta pay to be your friend, then we gon' grow apart. If I go to sleep, ain't on my men. Don't wake me up, Lord. Don't wake me.
That was Rollo, Slime Survivor. I know I wanted to do this episode yesterday, but I really didn't get the chance. Ashley was kind of sick yesterday morning, so to be quiet and all that, I just didn't do an episode. But today I want to talk about when oversight shows up late and trust leaves early. I think that is something that we definitely need to talk about. Pam Altendorf was on Liz Collins' podcast the other day, and they were talking about, voter fraud and some things that Minnesota really, I feel like, needs to talk about. Because here in Minnesota, I feel like we definitely don't get transparency. We don't get the truth. And that's one big ass thing that I feel like is a like what steps in between, politics and what's really going on in the communities. Because there is, you can tell, like a disconnect. And I think that disconnect needs to be, I wouldn't even say like understood. I think it's more of, people think they're sympathetic or they're empathetic. When it's neither of those. Uh, I feel like it's, I don't even know what to say it is, to be honest, because I really look at it from the outside looking in now, because I don't fuck with the DFL people no more. Uh, I'm more conservative, Republican, and people will say, "Oh, well, you're just a house nigga," and it's like, man, hold up, I'm broke, I'm poor, I'm not looking for a handout. I wanted my community to be accountable. I want it to be transparent. Uh, because this is definitely not about money. I don't care about my situation. That's the one crazy thing that I really um, have to sit back here and not ponder, but sit here and wonder, because how do people sit here and talk about they want to be a part of change, but they've already taken money from state governments or city entities? How do we trust that? How do you trust people who have already been paid by the same people who they say that they want to change? That's why, I literally have a hard time with Don Allen, because when I look back at certain things that happened in North Minneapolis, or let's just say Minneapolis, period, certain people's names keep coming up. When you look at CSI, uh, when you look at a lot of the gang shit, I won't say like he came up in a lot of it, but there was like Jerry McAfee, there was Sharif Willis, and all them same people now are supposedly pastors, violence interrupters, and you're like, damn, how do you fight something that when you were on the streets gang banging, you were fighting them same fucking people, but now you're supposedly fighting them in the political world too, about legislation, or uh, ordinances or things like that that happen in our community, and that's what's really, I don't, you know what I don't know what thoughts I should have about it anymore. I just think it is what it is. But for me, that's the same reason why Minneapolis, the north side or the south side, doesn't really change, is because you have those same people that were problems in our communities by selling drugs, gang banging, prostitution, things like that. Now that they have a different title. They used to be a gang leader, back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, but now they have a different title, like pastor or CEO or director. And it's like, damn. Only thing that's really changed, because their behavior hasn't changed. They're still doing the same ass shit, just maybe behind a lot of the scene now. Because a lot of things do come up. The same thing with like the Wellness Collective, with Zion Baptist Church. And then we allow individuals and corporations and nonprofits to put it back on our government and say that it was their fault. They allowed this. So how are they in the wrong when they were just doing things and y'all weren't saying nothing? You were still paying them. But now you want to point fingers when when there's an audit. And that shit just, to me, is like, how are we getting any kind of better if all we're able to do is just point fingers, and then we're still dealing with the same ass shit? We're still dealing with the same ass shit. So how do we go forward? How do we progress? Because every time a person calls something out, they're either a conspiracy theorist, or even though they're telling the truth, but we'll put some kind of mumble on it some kind of hashtag, even though we know goddamn well that's not the truth, but that's a narrative that they get paid off of. Because when you put out the truth that goes against their narrative, that's what you're seeing at Mayo Clinic right now. In real time at Mayo Clinic right now in their lawsuit with Michael Joyner. You are seeing that in broad daylight. And people still don't get it. I think, people can leave emojis on a post, but do they really understand it? Because I know a lot of people that work at Mayo. I don't see them out here, even though they may know things are wrong, but they would prefer to be silent and look the other way because they're getting paid. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. And every time, that's what what people should really, really be weary of when it comes to our government, when it comes to our big corporations, because the truth never matters. It's always about, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars. We have to do something different. How I look at these people in the deal, I'm just going to get on with the episode because I can literally complain about this all day and it's really not going to change much. But here is Liz Collin and Pam Altendorf talking about voter integrity.
About voter fraud and billions of dollars of fraud already uncovered in Minnesota, the state refuses to share its voter rolls with the federal government. But newly obtained voter data from Minnesota's largest county raises plenty of questions. Next. Representative Pam Altendorf is a Republican who represents the Red Wing area and is vice chair of the Minnesota House Elections Committee. Representative Altendorf, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Liz.
There's been this ongoing battle over access to Minnesota's voter rolls. You know it well. The federal government now suing after Secretary of State Steve Simon has declined to provide the data unless a court orders it. But with all this in mind, as a Minnesota state legislator who, again, sits on the House Elections Committee, you requested, I know, voter data from 4 Minnesota counties. Seemed like a simple request a couple of months ago, but explain then what happened next.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Yeah, this came to fruition after they denied the request from the DOJ. And in my position of being the vice chair of the Elections Committee, we feel by state statute that I had access to that information and wanted to just try it out. We tried 4 different counties to see if we could obtain that information. So I did do data requests to 4 counties.
And then I know after that request, Representative Altendorf, very shortly after, Secretary of State Steve Simon put out a memo.
Don't upload your videos to YouTube, where we will live stream it to you.
Yeah, that's right. So a couple days after the data request went out, obviously the counties told the Secretary of State's office that I was requesting this information, and he did put out a directive. And then in that directive, he redefined what we call the master list. The master list is the information of the voters that, we're holding in the counties. And that was redefined. And then it was specifically said to not give me certain information in the active voter list. He told the counties not to do that.
So I guess despite these roadblocks, you ultimately obtained voter registration data in Hennepin County. Just to be clear, you've only shared your analysis, not the actual data with us ahead of this interview. But even just your high-level analysis here, there is a lot to look at. Your analysis is based on about 830,000 records from Hennepin County, which accounts for 20% of all of voters in Minnesota. What stood out to you the most?
Yeah, and to be perfectly clear, we did assume that after finding out that the Secretary of State put out a directive that the counties would comply with that, and none of the counties that I had put in this request that they would actually, hand over that voter information. But it was, to our surprise, Hennepin County, they asked for my badge to make sure, that I am who I am, that I'm a vice chair on the Elections Committee. I'm a government official. And I'm assuming the person that was in that data request office looked at the information, looked at the law, and did decide that I was able to receive that information. So we received the Hennepin County, the active voter list on January 5th. And since then, I have that information in my office. And we've been looking at that information, and we do have a lot of concerns just looking from a very, surface level.
In particular, I know you wanted to speak about the votes in one specific precinct in Minneapolis that stood out as perhaps being problematic.
Yeah, that's right. So one Minneapolis precinct, it's P6 of Ward 2. There was so many challenged voters that it equates to 21.6% of the voters just in this one precinct are challenged. So, and that is significantly higher than the state average or in any other precinct that we're seeing. I mean, I think people can see that that would be a real problem to have that many being challenged.
So again, this is 21% of the votes in the precincts represented by Robin Wansley that were challenged. And according to your analysis, 50 times higher than the average in other precincts. Those votes are challenged far beyond the norm for the rest of the state. And also explain, it sounds like some voters with unusual information that you were able to see for yourself on the rolls.
Yeah, and this just comes right off after just this last week, Steve Simon, was quoted as saying that, Minnesota elections are fair, accurate, that we can he gave us that little talk that we can count on them. In this data that we're seeing, and again, this is just one county in Minnesota. In Hennepin County, we had 2,992 voters that have missing information. So by state and federal law, information that has to be provided, important things like names, addresses, birth dates, those kind of things that are missing from not just a couple, not just a handful, but thousands of voters.
And then also some of this unusual information. You said you've seen the same first, middle, and last name and address, but different ages?
Yeah, that's correct. We're seeing what possibly could be duplicate voters, where it's the exact same name, the exact same address, but perhaps the birth year is 2 years apart or 5 years apart. So we are seeing that. And again, we're just looking at this, Liz, from a very high level. Secretary Steve Simon was asked for the voter rolls from the federal government to help clean them up or to see if we need any help in Minnesota. And I would say after looking at this information, we definitely need some help here in Minnesota because the rolls are not clean or what anyone would consider reliable or accurate.
The concerns about election integrity in Minnesota, they've been around for a while. Several grassroots groups have been challenging the Minnesota election system for years. For example, just to highlight a story that we've continued to highlight, the Anoka County Election Integrity Team, ACIT as they're known, they've been advocating for back to basics voting, only to also receive significant pushback from the Secretary of State's office almost at every turn. What do you hear from your constituents, Representative Altendorf? Are they comfortable with Minnesota's election system?
Liz, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. Everyone wants fair and transparent elections. We want to make sure that they're accurate. We want to make sure that the voters, the people that are voting, are Minnesota citizens, and that they're legally able to vote in our elections. And right now, that's why I wanted to get this story out, because there's so many people that are questioning our elections, and now we have rock solid proof that our voter rolls are very problematic, and we need to fix that. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, all of us need to make sure that it's one vote per one legal person here in Minnesota to have fair elections.
I think much more to come here after seeing all of this. But Representative Altendorf, thank you so much for your service and for your analysis. Thanks for joining me.
So Pam did put something also out on her X account that I think people should pay attention to.
Super excited to find out that today the story is releasing that I've been working on for weeks and months, really. It's regarding election integrity in our Minnesota elections. If you follow the news, you perhaps know that the DOJ had asked Steve Simon, the Secretary of State, to hand over the Minnesota voter rolls so that they could help make sure that they were clean and secure, that there weren't duplicate voters on the list, that there are not illegal immigrants on the list, and that there's not dead people on the list, which I think most people would want that to happen. I did a data request after Steve Simon denied the federal government, and in my capacity as a Minnesota state representative, I believe that I had that legal authority to get the voter rolls. To my shock, because I wasn't sure that the counties would comply with my request, we did receive the full active voter data list from Hennepin County. I want you to please listen to this story, find out the facts and what we have uncovered, and then ask Steve Simon to help comply with the federal government so that we can clean up our voter rolls. We have to have election integrity in this state or nothing else matters. Ask yourself why Steve Simon has been in this position for 11 years, and this is what our voter rolls look like in just one county. Ask yourself if they try to, which I predict, the Democrats will come back and say, oh, the Republicans don't know what they're talking about, and they'll have all of these excuses to write off the data that we found that is questionable. But ask yourself, if Steve Simon has been the Secretary of State for Minnesota for 11 years, which he has, why has he not worked to fix these problems? Why has he not worked to clean up our voter rolls? Why has he not made this a transparent process? Why, myself, a legislator sitting on the elections committee, has this information been hidden to us, where we don't even know the fields, the data fields that the counties are collecting for our elections? This is completely unacceptable. Today, Minnesota, I offer you this story. I want to thank Liz Collin for reporting, for working with me to get this story out. And Minnesota today is a bit of vindication for you. If you ever wondered about our voter rolls, if you ever wondered about election integrity in Minnesota, those questions are now valid. Please watch the story. Please share it widely. And let's keep on fighting for election integrity in Minnesota and never stop.
Very true.
Hi, everyone. This is Minnesota State Representative.
So yeah, that is you know what's crazy, right? Is that in Minnesota, I really do feel like we have our voter rolls are really kind of messed up with people who, and we've seen this when it comes to the fraud. And I will show something later on today on this show about people that were from Philadelphia coming here to do fraud. And which is really crazy because people can't even, in Minnesota, don't even, the legislators and don't even want to deal with Minnesotans because of our politics. And that is, to me, is we need to get rid of that. Even when it comes to there's supposed to be systems and safe guardrails to keep people from doing fraud. And what do we see? We just see it all the way around. And who do we hold accountable? Who do we hold as Minnesotans, as taxpayers? Who do we hold accountable? Who do we hold accountable? That's what I really want to ask. Who do we hold accountable? Because even when this story came out yesterday, I kind of looked at it, and a lot of things, I'm going to talk to Wes Lund about this, because I really found this story, I shouldn't even call it a story, this information to be very valuable when it comes to, I shouldn't even say valuable, but comes in handy to Rochester residents. I just want to go over it a little bit. So Democrats directly tied to Somali truck drivers. We follow the tail of a Somalia trucking company, and look where it led to. We started in Barron, Wisconsin, and ended up at 1500 First Avenue Northeast, Rochester, Minnesota, 55906. Jules HND found the stunning news that 1500 First Avenue Northeast home was multiple transport companies, more trucking companies, the Democratic Party, Rochester headquarters, into a mosque. And it was really crazy when I read this little part, right? Because it was like, why don't we pay more attention to, first of all, addresses? Because when you're doing the same thing at the same address, that to me is, I mean, it's the same thing that came up with Pam Altendorf when she looked at Hennepin County. You had so many people that the birthdates were maybe changed a little bit, like with the birth years or whatever. And it's like, why don't we call this shit out when we know? This is what I really want to ask people, right? Can you really look at your friends, your close loved ones, and say, like, hey, you're doing the right thing? Because I can tell you right now, I really have a hard time looking at people in Rochester who are Democratic because of all the shit that's coming out, no matter if it was feeding our future. And I just want to say this, is that I know it wasn't the Republicans. It's because most of these people talk shit about Dwayne Quam, Brad Finstad. So I know that they're not dealing with them on a certain level of trying to compromise, or even, I don't even say they don't even want to compromise, to be honest, when it comes to Andy Smith or Liz Bolden or Kim Hicks, Tina Smith, or that's not her name, Tina Liebling. You know, that people, it's either their way or it's no way. And that what really drives me crazy, is because I really do feel like you have people who are in Rochester, Minnesota, and I'll fuck it. I'll just, because it is DFL. They don't fuck with Republicans. They say they're independent or that they're socialists, but yet they still fuck with the DFL. So I gotta call them what it is, and that's DFL, leftists, whatever you want to call them. Because I do have even in this post, I have a question, and there was not one single person around on a business weekday. Vehicles were in despair and not in service. So again, I'm like, where is our state patrol? Where is our sheriffs, the FBI? I have confirmed other states have begun seizing the semi trucks when they found non-English speaking drivers or fake paperwork, license, permits. This is the only way to stop it. See my other 3 tweets on this illegal alien trucking disaster. Just scroll down to my tweets for who is really behind this all. I named the names right here of the Rochester ones and view all 4 images below. 1500 Sunflower Transportation, PPP. That's, yeah. Everybody should have known already about this PPP shit. This shit got out of hand. It was so bad. And people just wanted to do fraudulent shit. You even had it on the Republican side with Ron Kresha, even though he states it was the bank's mistake. Non-emergency medical transportation van, local messengers and local delivery. Wow. Same address. Kadar Transportation. Wow. DOT found on vehicle 70105. No records matching USDI number. Wow. Helpful transportation. Trucking, non-emergency medical transportation. Wow. Hannibal. Wow. And here's the link. I want to just hit it for a minute. We're going to see where it goes. Oh, never mind. This is where it goes to. Wait, you know what's crazy? Wait, let me see this. Okay, hold on. Is that no, that would have been that building. Get the fuck out of here. That's where Bud and them Whitehorns fucking, wow. See, and that's why I said niggas ain't never said shit. All that shit can come back to this address. Wow, that's crazy. I know niggas are like, there's a comedian ass nigga, he works with the country insurance shit. So does Bud. But that's crazy that all these little addresses come back to the same ass. Well, I'll ask Ashley about this and she'll say, yeah, we were there. Wow. This is where I met Bud. This is where I met Whitehorn. Wow. That's crazy. And that is where the DFL is too, because I made fun of that shit. Wow. We shouldn't even be shocked no more, to tell you the truth. They had Swift Rides Transportation. Wow. Barron, Wisconsin. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy as hell. Because I know where that building is. So if you go over to, let me switch this real quick. Because if you look on the other way, there's Burger King and all that shit is just this way. Because that's Grandma's Kitchen. All them little, oh, whoops. I fucked up. Why isn't it? That's inside. I don't know whose car that is. Wow, Mustafa Muhammad. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. The problem is, no matter how much evidence there is, the fact is that the majority of Democrat voters won't believe this or think that it's okay is very scary. That statement right there is crazy to me, because this is where my issue, when it comes to people, especially in Rochester, some will say, well, I don't care about politics, but actually they're intertwined with the shit. Even though they want to say they're a distant, they're not a part of it. That's a motherfucking lie. Which really bothers me is because when people do bad shit, doesn't matter if it's the Rochester Police Department or Mayo Clinic or even Olmsted County Jail, niggas never say shit. I'm gonna be straight up. They don't say shit. And that's what really fucking bugs me, is because niggas be all around this shit and don't say nothing. Even when it came to Forest Entertainment, I left that post up for a reason when I did about Danielle, because after I made that post, there was parents that had reached out to me whose kids used to go there. And they would tell me, well, their kids were getting drunk or smoking weed. One time, I shouldn't say one time, and this is all public information. The news has done their own stories about this shit, but there was a guy, and he got jumped. I don't know if it was kids, whatever. But no, it was like 10 people versus one. Nobody wanted to say shit. Nobody wanted to say shit. But we're all supposed to be responsible adults. We're all supposed to be responsible adults. When there's niggas in our community that sell fentanyl, and these same Democratic ass niggas, Tawanda Burks, William Whitehorn, Yami fucking Charles Jackson Bear, these niggas don't say shit about this kind of shit. Not when it comes to the fraud. And this is why I have such a problem with people who say, oh, well, we're just independent. We don't really see politics. It's because they don't call shit out like this. This is where I have an issue when it comes to with Molly Dennis. Even when it comes to Molly Dennis. And this is where I have a hard ass time with, because it be these same ass people who do not want to call out their friends. I'm gonna be straight up. Because we can talk about Griot Arts, the NAACP, because at the end of the day, You have a fucking Nigerian running it who doesn't understand anything about the Black culture. Because how can you understand about the Black culture when you have never went through the same pain and trauma that people who are Black people who are from America, who are from Minnesota, who were born here? Because I think that's really what's crazy to me, is that you see people talking about the Whipple building and talking about how shitty the place is and how people are not getting their due process. And where the fuck are they all been when the same shit has been happening at Olmsted County Jail, Hennepin County Jail, Ramsey County Jail, Washington County, Mower County, Fillmore? Y'all niggas be silent. Because I don't see no nigga going this hard. I don't see no niggas going this hard. Not for Black people. Because this shit really, really baffles me. Because we have people in our own fucking communities that have been done wrong by Amy Klobuchar. And yet still you niggas want to vote for her. How is that? When you have people that are still in the community, that's because they're not from there. They don't reside there. They just work there. And when are we going to have a conversation about that? You have people talking for communities that do not live there. They work there. So living and working is two fucking different things. I'm going to be straight up. There's footage on my Instagram page and my TikTok of when we were firebombed at the building over north. And that, to me, had to do a lot to do about politics. Because that was for Republicans. That was for Black urban Republicans. I won't even say Republicans, conservatives. But there was a lot of people that didn't see that dream. There was a lot of people that didn't. That's why I got to give up to Marvina Haynes, Marcus. There was people that actually sweated. There was people, Brian, Laverne, I really got to give it up to certain people because there was shit that they did that made that place, especially Dale. Dale was a white man. Dale had owned that property over on West Broadway for years. Used to be a car dealership, used to have mechanics in there, and did a lot of great shit. Used to be right across the street from Paradise Pizza, which to me is some good ass pizza. I know a lot of people don't like it, but to me it's really good. But that was a trademark. That was, to me, that was a landmark. That was a landmark over north. That whole area. But that's the problem when we had legislators or even city councilors who were not born and raised in these communities. They only moved here when they were late teens or early adults. So they don't remember the good old times back in the 80s over north. They don't remember that shit. They don't remember Fire and Ice. They don't remember Alameen's fish house. They don't remember that kind of shit. They don't remember when there wasn't, that Cub was a Target. They don't remember that shit. They don't remember when we used to have the honeybee. That's why we have the name Murderapolis. New York Times gave us that shit. They called us Murderapolis. Even though barely was over 100 murders that year, even though we see Chicago has been in the last couple of years in the 400 or 500s. Same thing with New York, Louisiana, but we get a fucking name. That's crazy to me. But yet we have people who call themselves allies. But we vote these people in the office and nothing changes. Nothing ever changes. So my question is, when are we finally going to get tired of people just giving us pipe dreams and not really the truth or trying to be transparent? Because here, this goes to the story with the fraud tourism in Minnesota. You don't hear people talking about this shit. You had people literally come here from another state because the crime was so fucking easy here. I shouldn't even say the crime. The handouts are so easy here. Because if you want to be self-sufficient and do it on your own merit, the Democrat Party is not for you, my nigga. It is not for you. I'm going to be straight up. It's not for you. Because I can see Keith Ellison, Latricia Vitaw, they care more about immigrants than they care about their own black people in their fucking neighborhoods. Same thing with Bobby Joe Champion. That's why I'm trying to push Marcus into running against Bobby Joe Champion. Because any nigga that votes for Bobby is a sellout. I'm going to be straight up. It's a fucking sellout. I would rather have somebody go to the state capitol who don't know what the fuck they're doing, but their best idea, their best intention is for the community. And I think that's what I know Marcus would do that. I know he's not going to take no payouts from no corporations to do some shit to the community that first of all, we don't agree with. And the only reason why some legislators or even senators, representatives agree with this shit is because they get donations. And we got to stop that shit because all money ain't good money. All money is not good money. I'm going to be straight up. That's why it was so easy to come here in Minnesota and to say that they were doing shit, even because you had motherfuckers here in Minnesota that weren't even doing shit, but still collecting money. Weren't doing shit. Look at our neighborhoods. Look at our neighborhoods. Look at Minneapolis. Look at Lake Street. Look at West Broadway. And then go out to Chanhassen, Minnetonka, Shakopee. That shit ain't the same. That shit ain't the same. But it's getting that way because you're having poor people being pushed out into them areas because they're gentrifying Minneapolis, St. Paul. They're trying to get it where North Minneapolis doesn't have the way I really see it, and maybe people disagree with me or whatever, but what they're trying to do to West Broadway with I shouldn't say try because they are, with the light rail system all the way out to Brooklyn Park, you're going to get rid of a lot of residents. You're going to get rid of a lot of small businesses. But a lot of leaders in North Minneapolis don't see that because they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. I'm going to be straight up because motherfuckers will tell me, well, I'm not paid by the government. But didn't your organization that you work for get a grant? Didn't they get a grant from the state or the city? Because some of you motherfucking nonprofits wouldn't even be up and running if it wasn't for a state grant or a city handout. I'm going to be straight up. So a lot of these people are not self-made to me. Because if it wasn't for Jesse Ventura, some whack-ass governors, Tim Walz, Pawlenty, and then you see the Minneapolis Foundation, you see people on these boards, and then you expect change. How could you expect change when they were doing the same shit like R.T. Ryback was fucking over communities, and now he's doing the same thing, but now as a leader of a nonprofit, the Minneapolis Foundation. I'll never understand this shit because motherfuckers leave one position only to go into another one with the same, I won't even say with the same amount of power, but with the same amount of control to be able to fix something. I won't even say fix something, but to be able to have their hand in it. Because I can tell you right now that the Minneapolis Foundation has billions of dollars just sitting there. Doesn't matter if it comes to property, doesn't matter. They could literally change so much shit, but they don't. They only talk about it and maybe just give out a $50,000 grant here, a $100,000 grant there, $200,000 grant there. But what changes in the community? Nothing. Because as soon as people get that shit, they leave and only will work. I'm going to say that again. Work in that community. And that's what's fucked up. is we don't even listen to the people that actually live in those communities, but we listen to the people that have a title, that have a label. That's fucking wild to me.
Okay, our top story this half hour is fraud tourism. We have a pair of men from Philadelphia who've pleaded guilty to wire fraud charges in a $3.5 million Medicaid reimbursement scheme here in Minnesota. Former federal prosecutor Joe Thompson dubbed it fraud tourism, with defendants targeting the state because of a lack of oversight in Minnesota's social service programs. As our Fox 9 investigator Paul Bloom tells us tonight, the pair took advantage of a housing stability program designed to help the elderly and disabled.
These two defendants were forced to return from Philly to Minnesota on Monday to face justice in this so-called case of fraud tourism. Our cameras rolling as Anthony Jefferson here, as well as Lester Brown, came and went from the federal courthouse in downtown Minneapolis. Both men entering guilty pleas to a charge of wire fraud in connection to the Medicaid reimbursement scheme targeting Minnesota's Housing Stability Services Program, or HSS. Jefferson and Brown both admitted that they initially came here marketing themselves as the, quote, housing guys, and set up office space in downtown Minneapolis before deliberately targeting shelters and Section 8 housing to enroll individuals in the HSS program. A total of 230 beneficiaries were signed up. Through inflated and fraudulent billing, the two men admitted their scheme topped $3. A supporter of Brown, who declined to give her first name, defended his actions.
Nobody's been perfect. So mistakes happen. And we just hope God will forgive us.
Why do you think you picked Minnesota? Why here?
I don't know. I can't answer that. You know, I don't know. But all I know is that justice will prevail.
As for the HSS program, that was a Medicaid benefit to help people with disabilities, including seniors and people with mental illness and substance disorders, to help them find and maintain housing. The state ended the program because of widespread fraud following several years of explosive growth. Meantime, Brown and Jefferson will have to return to Minnesota at least one more time for sentencing, where they are looking at between 3.5 and 6.5 years behind bars, with a federal judge having the ultimate say. Paul Bloom, Fox 9.
See, that's crazy of how people can come here and say that they're helping Minnesota, but yet taking from Minnesota. I still don't understand that shit. I still don't understand that shit. Like, how we still have people who, even though they know it's wrong, but will stick up for these fucking people. That's wild to me. Because you're even going to see this in this next video, right? You're going to see it where individuals came, I shouldn't even say came, but the audit just showed how much fraud, is in Minnesota, and we're not doing shit. Not even doing shit. Because people, how can we say this is okay, even though we know it's wrong? That's one thing that I will never understand. So here you go with Care 11 Investigates.
Confirms what our Care 11 investigative team has been uncovering for years. Minnesota's Medicaid system was wide open to abuse that could end up costing taxpayers billions of dollars. Investigative reporter AJ Legault joins us now with an update. AJ?
Yeah, Julie, in the wake of our housing hustle investigation, the state commissioned a vulnerability assessment. The early findings are in widespread weaknesses, care that may have never been delivered, and taxpayers likely owed massive refunds.
Bad actors billing for phantom services, ripping off taxpayers while lining their own pockets. That's what Care 11's investigations exposed.
That you're billing thousands of dollars for work that's not being done.
As the scope of the fraud grew, the state hired the data analytics company Optum to launch a prepayment review. The company analyzed claims for about 20% of Minnesota's Medicaid billing over nearly 4 years across 14 high-risk programs. Now, the first report is out, and the findings are explosive. Taxpayers owed $52 million in what are labeled direct recoveries, meaning there are clear policy violations, and the state should try to claw that money back. But the larger concern may be what weak state rules allowed. Optum estimates $1.7 billion in potential improper payments tied to vague rules and policy loopholes. During an online press conference, I asked John Connolly, the state's Medicaid director, about this.
As if Optum could find this in 90 days, why was the agency not spotting some of these vulnerabilities over a period of years?
We did not have tools, I think, up to the task of responding to the increasingly complex fraud schemes that we have been grappling with, particularly in the last year or so.
When scrutiny finally intensified last year following CARE's reporting, which resulted in federal raids and fraud charges, the impact was immediate. The report finds in just one quarter, Medicaid spending across these 14 programs dropped nearly 30%, a $165 million reduction, showing how much questionable billing disappeared once oversight increased.
Our goal is to win back trust by making Minnesota a national leader in program integrity.
In a nutshell, the warning signs were there, the safeguards were not. DHS says the state is at a turning point and dedicated to hardening systems against bad actors, minimizing risk, and aggressively investigating suspected fraud. The review process continues with recommendations for legislative and policy fixes.
See, I don't even get that. We can say that the system is something's wrong with it, but why are we trying to fix it? Why are we not trying to change or even repair some shit that is fucked up or we know that is a loophole, and that loophole is only for certain people, but why don't we try to change that loophole or even try to step into it? Or I don't get that shit. I really don't. We get out here and I won't say we. No, I already did that. Oh, never mind. But here is I might have already played this too. I don't even fucking know. About Whipple. I think I might have already. I found this interesting. So they were talking about the rebel loon, I guess. There is some shit out here that they've made our loon as a resistance loon for this ICE operation that is in the Metro Surge or whatever that's in Minnesota. But I thought this was really weird. So people should pay attention to this as well.
It has also become an unofficial symbol of resistance to the federal immigration crackdown.
And a web developer from Moorhead has created a logo combining his Minnesota pride with his love of Star Wars. And the result has gone viral. Maury Glover introduces us to the man behind what's called the Rebel Loon.
It's definitely the most requested individual design of all of them.
At Art Price's studio in Northeast Minneapolis, volunteers print protest logos on clothes people bring in, free of charge. But one design is far and away the most popular because it was inspired by a galaxy far, far away.
It is a very poignant image, which captures a very complicated time.
It's a variation on the Rebel Loon designed by Bernardo Anderson, which combines Minnesota's state bird with the symbol of the Rebel Alliance from Star Wars. Anderson says watching people from all walks of life come together to protest Operation Metro Surge reminded him of the characters from different worlds joining forces to battle the powerful empire in the science fiction classic.
It seemed like there was a lot of unity and hope, and I wanted to kind of symbolize that in some way that showcase how we're coming together.
After Anderson posted the Rebel Loon on Reddit under a public domain license to encourage people to use and adapt it freely, the logo spread like wildfire, with social media filled with examples of Anderson's creation. Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong even had a Rebel Loon sticker on his guitar while performing at a pre-Super Bowl party a couple of days before the big game.
When I was in high school, I had the stickers and the patches of Green Day on me, and now he's got something on his guitar that I made, so it's pretty amazing to see.
Price says his studio has printed more than 1,500 Rebel Loons over the last few weeks, and he believes the symbol of hope and solidarity is just beginning to spread its wings.
The people who need our help see it and know that we are here for them.
Now Anderson has started a website so it's easier to download his design and customize the...
Yeah, that should be crazy, because even Don Lemon hired Joe Thompson, because he went, when Joe resigned from the federal prosecutor's office, because he was a U.S. acting attorney here for a little bit, but he did resign, and there was a lot of people that resigned. I think it was like 10. But Don Lemon hired him. I think that is, I don't know how to actually feel about that. The shit's crazy to me, though, because now he's got Abby Lowell, and now it's Joe Thompson. And I think that's really fucked up for Minnesota, even when it comes to the fraud. I think we've seen all we're going to see when it comes to the fraud shit. The charges, I think we will be hearing a few things, but to be honest, it ain't going to be what we think it is. Because here there is even a video from Fox News where they interviewed a Minnesota mayor that he sees no accountability happening in Minnesota when it comes to the fraud shit. And I truly do believe that. There is too many people that are on one side that see and that's right. And there is even people that sit in the middle who even think that it's okay, is because they don't think that it's wrong. Because there's so many people that end up doing this shit, and who gets hurt? It's us Minnesotans.
Are sounding the alarm on what they are calling rampant fraud in their state. Our next guest is one of them. It says Governor Tim Walz admitted to him last year that Minnesota had a fraud problem.
Governor Walz visited Cross Lake, the city I'm proud to represent. The governor acknowledged the Department of Human Services was being abused. The acknowledgement raises an even more troubling question. If this abuse was known, why were stronger safeguards not put in place sooner?
Mayor of Cross Lake, Minnesota, Jackson Purfirst joins us now. Mayor, welcome to you. So do please tell us, what have you uncovered there?
Thank you, Sandra. So we've seen just in the last recent month this fraud take off, with federal investigators flooding the state of Minnesota, as this is a huge concern. Just last week, we had another third-party independent investigated auditing team audit the state of Minnesota, and they came up with 14 high-risk programs that could estimate up to another $1 billion in fraud alone. Fraud is impacting every citizen in the state of Minnesota, and especially city budgets. As Minnesota state government inflates their budgets on top of the fraud, that shrinks the city's ability to be able to tax their citizens if we need to do a project just to operate normal services in our communities.
So you and other mayors are banding together, and that number is apparently growing by the day. You're banding together, you're calling for accountability and reform. You want to clean up the state. But the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, says, there's nobody implicated in any of this. Nothing to see here. Well, hold on. Let me play this out. Listen here.
You mentioned this fraud investigation and the reason that they're here. Is there anything you think, when you look back, you could have done differently to prevent them from showing up and doing what they're doing here?
No, they were coming anyway. It was all make-believe that we'd been at it. Every state had this. And look, I do think there has to be accountability in this. No one in state government was implicated.
Mayor, to the governor, you say what?
It's crazy how there's been no one that's been so-called implicated when whistleblowers of fraud have lost their jobs and been fired by the state of Minnesota. I mean, if we're firing people that are reporting fraud, How is the Minnesota state government, the executive branch in particular, not implicated or complicit in allowing fraud to be rampant?
Yeah, it's a good point. Here's one of another mayor from your state, Nate George. This is at the Mayors Across Minnesota presser that happened on Wednesday, specifically on fraud in your state. He said this.
When fraud or mismanagement happens at higher levels and is allowed to continue unchecked, the consequences are pushed downstream. Every dollar lost to waste, fraud, and mismanagement is a dollar that can't go to roads, public safety, housing, or tax relief.
So you all are identifying this as a big problem, obviously, but there is a DHS whistleblower detailing what is described as a smear campaign after reporting fraud concerns to the state. This is a former Minnesota DHS employee, Faye Bernstein, on her experiencing trying to report this fraud years ago and the retaliation that followed. Listen.
The smear campaign starts where you are told that you are racist, and then your job duties are lessened and lessened until you basically have no job duties. I have notified numerous times, to the point that sometimes I'm kind of embarrassed to repeat myself because I have just become a broken record. So to say that leadership was not aware or the governor was not aware is, I can tell you that is absolutely false.
So what's going on here, Mayor?
You know, it's just another blame game by the executive branch. You know, I have a family friend right here in Cross Lake who knows of a good friend who lost their job for reporting fraud at the state 5 years ago. So this goes back a long time that the state of Minnesota knew exactly what was going on, was trying to cover it up, and, you know, to be too Minnesota nice once again.
Well, your job and others is to clean it up. Is it too big a task?
You know what? I think we can do it. Sadly, we're seeing some federal prosecutors bail out and prosecuting and investigating some of this fraud. Hopefully, President Trump and AG Bondi flood this state with federal prosecutors and investigators to clean this up, because clearly the state of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison is too busy going after the 11% rebate at Menards.
Wow. Well, Mayor, we appreciate you joining us here. Do follow up with us. Thank you for your time.
Will do.
I mean, you're trying to reduce crime. My only problem with ICE is that they're going after every minority group except black people. I mean, you're trying to reduce crime. You can just give them more room to breathe. But I understand, can you imagine the shape you have to be in to deport black people?
Did y'all feel all that hate? That was not a joke. That was just hate. Because there's nothing funny about wishing harm on another community. It's nothing funny to wish that harm comes to another community. The black Americans in the audience were not laughing, and this man clearly is not living up to his stereotype of being smart, because there's no such thing as an undocumented black American. Black Americans cannot be deported. And he want to talk about crime. Let's talk about the massage parlors, right? All that human trafficking, all that SMEX trafficking. Where do you think the terms came from? Me love you long time. Human trafficking, SMEX trafficking. Maybe ICE need to pay K-Town a visit. Maybe ICE need to pay Chinatown a visit, because I'm pretty sure they could save a lot of kidnapped women, a lot of women that's being trafficked from these industries. So it's funny how, you know, nobody wish harm. The black American community never wish harm on another community, but the hate is always out there towards black Americans. No one's even thinking about Asians, right? And you have this joke. What about the ICE jokes? The people who's rounding people up, right? Then Trump said like 80% ICE agents was like Latino or something like that. What about the jokes towards the Latino community that's actually rounding y'all up, right? Man, the hate is real. There's no ally.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. Because I've even seen people call ICE agents who are black the N-word. So we really can't say that we want to fight racism when racism is all in the systems, or I shouldn't say the systems, but in the organizations that we fight. So that's, to me, that's kind of crazy. I'm gonna get up out of here. I'll be back Friday. But until then, here you go with Don Tripp, Living Off Experience, and I'll be back on Friday.
Yeah. That nigga man got the juice, ho.
Jadakiss told us we gon' make it, and I wish my need for this cheese was contagious. It's crazy, these niggas' way of thinking is outrageous. He'll kill you for a bitch, but won't take care of they baby. The love that I had for these niggas then all faded. It's more snake eyes in my city than Las Vegas. I've lost patience, some guys fall cause they wasn't all taught the basics. Off the porch prematurely, niggas caught some cases and couldn't face them. Mama in the courtroom disappointed. It's hard to face her. No, this ain't the way she raised us, but we tired of stealing cable from the next door neighbor. Dear mama, do you know how much my pride suffers when we knocking on their door to ask to borrow sugar? My heart's butchered, and now I got a point to prove to all the onlookers. They push me until I become the pusher. Good gracious. Jadakiss told us that we gon' make it, and it's a long way to the top. I'm trying to gauge it. We all know what happens if we late another payment. It's a cold world, there ain't no